Both of these players crack an enemy and try to capitalize. The first takes the fastest path and gets eliminated. The second takes a slightly longer path and then gets the elimination. The difference is pathing, and most players are thinking about it wrong. After playing thousands of fights at a Predator level, I've noticed that good pathing isn't really about getting you somewhere faster. It's about controlling how many opportunities the enemy has to punish you. And once you start to think about pathing this way, you realize every route you take into a fight is a trade-off. When most players decide to move, they're thinking about one thing: where they want to go. They crack someone, they see an opportunity, and they immediately take the fastest route towards it. But the destination is only one part of the decision. There are other things to consider, like how much damage can you take getting there? What cover will you have when you arrive? Whether you can escape, and how predictable your movement becomes. So instead of asking what's the fastest way to get there, you should be asking 3 questions. First, where will I end up? This sounds obvious, but most players only think about reaching the enemy. They don't think about what happens immediately afterward. Let's say you successfully cross the space. You get exactly where you want to go. Now what? Do you have cover? Can you continue pushing? Can you survive if the enemy's teammate swings? Can you leave? A good path doesn't just get you closer to the enemy. It delivers you into a position where you could continue making decisions. Second, what can punish me while I get there? This is where players throw away advantages constantly. You crack someone so you feel like the fight has to speed up, but dealing damage doesn't make you invincible. If capitalizing requires crossing 15 meters of open space, you're giving the enemy multiple opportunities to reverse the fight. They can heal and repeak, their teammate can swing, you can get shot from another angle, or you simply take so much damage crossing that you arrive at the fight weaker than the player you originally cracked. The cost of a path is every opportunity the enemy gets to damage you while you take it. Third, and this is probably the most important question, what does this path create? Look at the second example again. I don't end up taking the fastest route, but I'm still closing distance. The difference is that I'm closing distance while preserving options. I have cover, I can continue pushing, I can disengage, and because the enemy can't punish my movement, they're forced to make the next decision. They repeak, and I get another opportunity to capitalize. Good pathing creates multiple ways to win. Bad pathing usually gives you only one. But there's another part of pathing that needs to be addressed, and that's predictability. The more obvious your objective is, the easier you are to predict and punish. If I crack someone, they already know what I want. I want to capitalize. So if I immediately run directly toward them, I've answered every question they have. They know where I'm going, they know when I'm going to arrive, and they know where to aim. And they may even know the direction my teammates are likely to come from. A better path doesn't just protect you, it forces the enemy to keep gathering information. And every second they're uncertain is another second they have to react instead of act. Now, everything we've talked about so far applies to you individually, but Apex isn't a one-player game. And this is where the pathing gets more complicated, because the best path for you isn't necessarily the best path for your team. If all 3 players take the same route, you occupy the same angle. You're vulnerable to the same damage, and the enemy only has to defend one direction. You've essentially turned 3 players into one source of pressure. Instead, your path should consider what your teammates already control. If my teammates are pressuring from here, I don't necessarily need to follow them. Sometimes moving 10 meters to the side creates an entirely new problem for the enemy. Now they have to watch multiple angles. Cover that protected them from my teammates might expose them to me, and if they try to escape, my path can remove the route they wanted to use. Now this doesn't mean taking a 30-second flank, it means taking a path that creates something your team doesn't already have. So when you're choosing a path into a fight, stop looking at only where you want to go. Look at what happens along the way, where will you end up, what can punish you while you get there, what does the path create, and once you're playing with a team, what does your path add that your teammates don't already have? The best path isn't always the fastest, and it isn't always the safest. It's the path that gives you the most control over what happens next. The difference between the 2 fights you saw at the beginning wasn't mechanics. In both situations, the advantage had already been created. The difference was how that advantage was converted. One path gave the enemy opportunities to take the fight back. The other path kept control of the fight. So the next time you crack someone and want to capitalize, don't ask yourself, what's the fastest way to get there? Ask yourself, which path gives me the most ways to win?